All right, so now we need to move this inside of the app, right? So, well, we'll leave it there for a moment. So what was it, user1 at user.com? That's our normal user, right? Okay. Oh, okay, good. So it's actually just on every page right now. All right, so what we need to do is we want to create a...
We have the submit button already? Oh, it's the create button.
Yeah,
Couldn't
so...
we just add it to that?
Well, it's going to be part of that process. Yep. Oh. Firebase push failed. First argument contains undefined in property. Could be we just haven't messed with this in a while.
Yeah, there is a box there, but
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think there's. Yeah, that's just it. Okay, well we need to redo this anyways. All right, so we need to have a. To create a service, we need to be able to select between snow removal and lawn, right? So it needs to be a toggle between those two. And when we say snow removal, we need to be able to give it the number of cars that would fit the driveway. That's the delineating factor. Did you guys bring me any snacks? We got nothing. They show up 5 minutes late. You got nothing. Did you leave me any fries or anything? No.
I didn't get no fries. You can have his banana.
That's just creepy the way you said it. The way he offered it felt creepy, but when you said it, oh, yeah. Sorry, I don't have any gasoline. But, you know, if you wait till after Wednesday, I have a 25-gallon tank in my garage if you want to come help install that. Hey, I'm actually serious if you're not busy. All right. Okay, so we need to update this form. So we initially want to toggle between snow removal and, but we need this thing to start showing up again. So let's start working on that. I'm sure that's what this error is. Okay. So we have a couple of different plays we can do here. On one hand, we can have a button that does kind of a pop-up form similar to this purchase thing. Seems like that would be pretty helpful, wouldn't it? I guess let's just start off down here. All right, so this is in index. Okay, so here's the current stuff that deals with our service. So we need to build a form, and I think we want this form to have some background stuff. Because right now it's see-through, and that's what's causing. Actually, yeah, right now it's just taking on that backdrop. So we probably need to give some style to our form here. So let's actually see what we can do with this button, or rather the text field. So just to get it to show up.
The whole form?
Huh?
Can you do it to the whole form?
We should be able to. Let's give style to it. HTML form. I think at this point we just want it to show up in the with something in the background. Okay. So we have to give that a style. So we gotta give it a style tag. What is it? Style equals? I don't think this is right. HTML style tag. That should tell me what I need. Yep, something like this. Style equals, okay. Yep, so I actually was doing it right. All right, let's see what that does to the form. So the form takes over all that? That's weird.
It makes sense.
Does it?
It fills up the entire screen.
All right, so we need to give some size to the form. Or we could just start putting stuff in tables. This is an H1 for our value. What's that? That's this guy, right? So welcome there. If role is equal to user, put in the value. For authenticated, we're going to say this. Oh, where does value even come from? I don't think that's a thing anymore, is it? Maybe that's why it's taking up so much space. If we go into our index controller, I think that's when we were messing around with scoping. Yeah, we don't have anything in here called value. Okay. So we're going to dump this. All right, and then we have this div that is going to, we want it to take up, we probably want this stuff to be centered, or at least not take up the whole screen. User, so this guy only shows up if we're user. So off to basketball camp. All right. So I'm thinking we could do this in 3 separate. Like right now we have it spanning the entire page like this. It might make more sense to have a table that's like 3 across that has the different sections in it. So just 3 or 2. So we have, if we're a user, we see our service, we see the ability to create a new service request. We have the pending requests, and then we have incomplete jobs. So what we should be able to do is create a table here. And I think we want the table to have a width of, I think it's 100% is what we want to set it as. That'll be whatever the size of the width of the screen is. And then we're going to say TR, so we'll have a single table row, and then we'll do a TD, that'll have a width of 33.33%. We're actually going to have 3 of those. And inside of the first one, I think we can actually get rid of that div there. We're going to have our form. This will replace that div. Yep. Okay. And then this is what is inside of our second column. Oh, that guy shouldn't be indented. There we go. Although some of those other indents are a little funky, but whatever. All right, so that's pending requests. That's that div. And then incomplete jobs will go in the third column. Get rid of that div. Oh, we actually can have a fourth column. So we'll make these 25%. We'll see how this looks. We could always make it 2. So here's our completed jobs. Get rid of that div. All right, so now we have one if div, well, one div that only happens if the user is, if the role is a user, and then we should have a 4-column, 1-row table in theory. Okay, well, it looks better. It's a move in the right direction at this point. Okay, so I think we will have some benefit by actually putting this inside of a form, even if we're not going to process it as a form, unless we, let's see, what is it a bunch of zeros is white? Is that right? Text color for white. Yeah. Oh no. All F's is white. All right. So let's give this first. Let's give this first TD style equals background color colon that. And then we'll take away, I need to put take away the style tag here. Let's see what that looks like. Hopefully that brings back our it's just so weird that you can't see the so I think we need to give our web form some border. Styling input buttons. Here we can give this guy a border. See what that looks like. Can't be worse than it currently is. Well, it could also be exactly the same. So I'm thinking we don't want to give it any sort of background color because that just looks funky, but we do need to get this oh, I put it on the wrong thing. I put it on the button. We want it on the text box. We want our text box to show up and look like something. All right, we're in the right direction here. Let's see. We give it placeholder text. So we can give it a background color. Let's see what color that ends up being, but I think we'll end up just doing white. Well, actually, with no background color, then it's just see-through, right? Which might actually be better. Let's see. Input text, placeholder text. HTML input text placeholder. Okay, let's see what that does for us. Well, let's just see it first. I think we're going to end up not calling it service name long term. Okay, well, we're moving in the right direction. All right, so we're going to need to have a toggle between our form, one for snow, one for grass. So we need to start off having a toggle radio button. So let's see if they have oh, that's all done through CSS. So this is all with Bootstrap. Let's look at what this page looks like. Okay, so they're creating a button group.
He's surrounded by men, and he has to kill one of them
After you, old Alex. I heard him talking about you there. Go out there with the gasoline, see what happens. Okay, so this is our state button. So we need to find, well, let's see, is that the one we like? Okay, so that's, so I think we can have it say things other than on and off. Ooh, we can do color. Well, they do all say on off. All right, let's look at the one that just says size. Let's look for size on here. All right, so type is checkbox. So here's a button group. Switch size, input type checkbox, check data size is mini. Oh, I think that's going to still be on off. We don't have control over that. Alright, so let's do Angular, radio, input. Because we want to flip back and forth between two things. There we go, radio buttons. Radio. All right, we'll literally steal that little chunk of code there, and we will modify it for us. All right, so this is under our, we'll do it before our service name. Let's give ourselves some space here. All right. So we're going to call this guy snow. Value is snow removal. All right, we'll have to see. This is actually connecting them to our form data thing, but I don't know that we'll necessarily use that, but we'll just leave it for right now. Okay, and then this other one is lawn. We actually call it grass. It's called grass cutting for right now. All right. Let's just see what that looks like. Oh, I left it as egg. All right, but those guys should not be able to both be selected. Yeah, you should only be able to select one radio button at a time. Okay. I think we can do this. HTML radio buttons. Let's keep this simple. Okay, this is what we want. Something just like that. And then we'll add some NG model stuff to it. All right. So we're going to go right underneath this. Service type, value snow, snow removal. We'll probably end up putting this in a table as well, but let's just go with this for right now. Radio, service type, value is lawn mowing. Is that the right way to call it? Snow removal and lawn mowing. All right. Okay. I don't know what we were trying to accomplish with this label thing, but whatever. Let's leave it for right now. Oh, that's not our. All right, there we go. Now those toggle. Okay, so what we need to do, we probably do want to put these guys on two separate rows. So maybe have our form up here and the pending requests, and then the jobs and incomplete jobs below as a second TD. So that way these guys can be 50% of the screen. %, and then we get a new TR. So now it'll be in two separate rows. Should look less jumbled. But we'll fix these other ones, but it's off to a decent start. All right, so now that should allow us to have these guys on one thing. So snow removal and lawn mowing. So right now they're on a BR. try it just like that for the moment. All right, snow removal versus lawn mowing, and this is under service type. So we could actually get rid of that. Let's put this in H3. That looks like probably at H2. Let's get some boldness going on there. I thought H2 was bold. Why is there such a huge gap up here? All right, so we need to hook these up to an NG model. I think they might already be, but if not, we will. So let's steal this NG model here. And so this is going to be NG model service type. This will also be NG model service type. And then why don't we go ahead and do a NGF in maybe a div just to see a toggle between the two. NGF service type is equal to snow. Then we'll do this div stuff. Let's just say snow removal. Then we'll do another div. Grass. Let's see, I said snow. Oh. I said snow there, and I also said snow here, so let's call this lawn. Alright, so the hope is it would toggle back and forth between those two. We need to have a default value for our radio button. So that one's just the one, whatever I say checked is the default. So we'll default to snow removal. Alright, which means that I need to have a variable called service type that is in the scope, and we'll default the value to snow. So the snow div shows up. One second here. Oh, we don't actually have to do it on this side. Well, we're going to want to so it has an initial value. We don't have to because it'll bind it for us. Well, actually, hold on. I think it will have an initial value because this guy's checked. Here's our service type. Snow is checked by default. Oh, I already had it checked, but whatever. And we're going to associate that with service type. I think that should give it the value of this guy. We'll see if it does. That should mean that we should see snow removal by default there. And then when we click the other one, it should move to lawn mowing and vice versa. If not, we'll have to write the variable ourselves and give it a default value of snow. Oh, it's not actually checked. Radio. Service types, this is what binds them, but actually by having an ng model, this name thing breaks. Yeah, with the ng model off of there, these guys toggle. Okay. But we put the model back in, which we need. And let's go ahead and give ourselves a service type variable in here and start off as snow just to make sure our ngIf is working correctly. Just take ngIf off this.
You have both of your ifs set to lawn, so even if it was.
Oh, thank you. Okay, good. Okay, so it's working on that side. But that's just for toggling. See, this is the issue with so bottom line is if we use the standard checkbox or radio button rather, the second we remove name from this, they'll no longer self-toggle because they're no longer bound to each other. So we'll have to decide how we can make those guys. We'll have to go back to that other Angular example. Did I not save that? Radio, checked value. It's checked, value snow, ng model service type. Oh, why is it? Oh, just because we've hard-coded the value in there, this doesn't have any, although it is toggling back and forth now. Service type. All right, let's look at radio. So it was doing it with something with form data. Let's see, we want that. I guess we could just do two buttons. One that says snow removal and one that says, I don't know, that's necessarily worse than radio buttons. Radio buttons kind of look dorky anyways. So having two crappy looking buttons, I don't know that makes a big difference. One would, that way they can call back to a function that will toggle those two values. So if we're doing this in Angular inside index here, we'll default a service type as snow. Let's see, we're not using this charge credit card, right? Oh, we are. No, we're not. Yeah, we are. What are we doing? No, we use the, so let's get rid of that. All right, so we're going to say scope dot snow removal button on click equals function $, scope dot service type is equal to snow. And then we're going to have a second one of these. Snow removal. This is going to be lawn mowing. Button on click. And this is going to be lawn. Okay. And then we can set up two buttons, ng clicks for both of them. That's what it was, right? Ng clicks. All right, so we're going to have a button with ng click equal to, we called, let's just copy it, snow removal button on button click. Like that. And this guy is going to say snow removal. And then we'll have a second button. This is lawn mowing. Button on click. This will be lawn mowing. Like that. And that should allow us to toggle between those two guys now. Alright, snow removal, lawn mowing. But I expect the snow removal to be the default. Sometimes local web pages take a long time. I think it was loading Ajax stuff. Yeah, snow removal is the default. Lawn mowing, snow removal, okay. Okay, so we're not naming the service anymore. So now we're going to build our forms for snow removal in each of these guys. Okay. So that's in here. And we can go ahead and steal this guy. So snow removal, we need a number of cars, right? Is that a drop down, you think? HTML select list. Yeah, so we should be able to do. Then we can bind that to that looks like. Do we have a, what's the maximum number of cars? You think a lot?
You know, people have like mile-long driveways.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe we just give them a box and say how many cars will fit in your driveway. All right. All right, so this is going to be snow number of cars is what that's going to be. That's going to be linked to. Let's see. For right now, we'll just say number of cars. We're going to have to redesign the interface later anyways, but this will be good enough for right now. So we need number of cars. And that's going to be bound to that. And then we probably want to give them a price, because is that the only information we really need to, that and probably a description, a text box for description, like if there's any special instructions or something like that. And then from there, we should be able to give them an estimate for the how much it's going to cost. And for right now, we could just assume that it's, I don't know, what, $10 per car, or something, just for our multiplier. Is that good with you, Chastity? That's $10. How's that banana?
Wait.
Yeah.
Saving it just for you.
Old Alex, gasoline. So, hey, hey, hey. All right. So let's get a. Well, whatever. We can adjust it later, but we just want to start building in structure now that we have our major pieces in place. Remember, we still have to do an iPhone app, but I promise you that's going to go way faster. Okay. So this is why web sucks. Stupid stuff. And actually, Angular makes it way better than it used to be. Let's see. What's it called? A text view? HTML. Let's just say text. Text area. That's what we want. All right, so we can give it some special instructions. We should be able to do that. I assume, can we do this inside of a we want to do this as a, can we do a placeholder for this? Special instructions. And then we need to bind this. Snow instructions. See what that looks like. Okay. We probably need, we want these guys to be similar widths. Can we just do or do the columns dictate the width? What happens if I leave columns out? Just say, give me a width. HTML, multi-line input. Let's see what. Well, maybe for now we just do it as a single text field, just like the other one, and move on with life. So, instructions. Placeholder. Special instructions. All right, so that's what we do when we have snow removal. Then for we're going to have special instructions for lawn mowing as well. This is going to be lawn special instructions. And then I guess we're going to need to know how big their lawn is. number of cars. Or my house, how many barbecue grills will fit in your yard? I guess we'll leave it at number of cars for right now. LOL, that should remind us later that probably needs to be updated. But we're going to have some sense of the size of their lawn in order to give them a price estimate, right? Okay.
Would you, like, estimate the square yardage? I mean, if you look at your yard, you can tell.
Well, so I'm putting myself in that. So let's say I wanted you to cut my grass, and you asked me, well, what's the square yardage of your yard? I don't know how to answer that.
What's your yard? Is it like a 20 yards by 10? Big? Or...
That's a good question. Because, like, you know, everybody's yard is weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, my yard literally wraps the entire house.
Okay.
There isn't, like, just a front yard. So, but then you get, like, weird space, and there's a couple of places where you're going to have to mow the neighbor's yard. Just comes with it. It comes with that area. And then you have to dodge around the grill. So, because I filled that with cement. I didn't want it to be very easy for them to. It'd be pretty funny. Just put cinder blocks in.
Why doesn't your neighbor just get like an electric fence and put it on his yard?
Because he's a jerk.
And that's the easiest.
No, you're absolutely right. There are so many completely easy solutions to this. Like, I feel like I'm being nice by not, like, wanting to push the thing and make this guy get rid of his dog, because I know, you know, when you have a pet, well, I'm sure when he got the dog, the thing wasn't over 20 inches tall, but the dogs get big, right? So fine, I get it. So let's not push the issue that you're breaking those bylaws, but how about you just keep the thing on a leash? You want to put up I don't care what he does. Just keep the dog in your yard. But he's of the opinion that his dog is incapable of biting a human being, which is kind of, I don't know, different people have different phobias. So doesn't that just basically show, like, no respect to, like, somebody's phobias? Like, my wife only does her gardening when the dog's not outside, and she has to be careful about the mailbox. She's carrying pepper spray. Mark my words, at some point she's going to pepper spray this dog. And then I'm going to be sitting here complaining, and then I'm getting sued by this guy because we pepper sprayed his dog after we complained to tell him to keep it in his yard. So, yeah. In real life, one would hope that you could just be a reasonable neighbor, right? What are you going to do? So I would recommend not getting into a homeowners association. It's kind of the point. All right, so we have our, I guess, all right, so you were suggesting square yards?
I don't know. Like, if I look at my backyard, I can kind of estimate that's like 35 yards by 40.
Like, I feel like I could pretty easily say that, like, my driveway is max 6-car driveway. Probably really four, maybe 5 cars is when you have to cut a couple in half on the bottom. But so I feel like I can give a guesstimate for that, but I don't know how I would give, like, a reasonable guesstimate for, like, the size of the lawn. I think we should just leave it as number of cars for right now, and then we can ask Dominic how he would modify that. All right, so number of cars in driveway. Then special instructions versus lawn, number of cars for lawn, and special instructions. On the toggle button. Okay. All right, yeah, the service name's just hanging around. So this is for snow removal. This is for lawn. Number of cars, LOL. All right, so we're flipping back and forth between those guys. All right, and then so we're going to dump this service name thing, but we're still going to have to put in our request. Okay, so no service name. Request service, and let's associate this guy with new service request, and let's go update our function for that. And our controller. Oh, where was that? That's not something we're using right now. Is that in one of our, is that in our user controller? But that's not in our user controller anymore, is it? Oh no, we are. We're in the user controller now. That might have been why that thing wasn't toggling when I was adding the scope stuff to our index controller. But I think the buttons look better anyways. Okay, so this is our submit right now, but now it's going to be that. All right, so we need to create a new service request. And this is going to be our, so we want service type. So we need to move that over. Actually, hold on. That's interesting. Okay, so this is working like Java inheritance. Our user controller is more local, but when it couldn't find, because these where am I at here? User controller starts right there. Right here, we're calling lawn mowing button on click. Here's our user controller. No lawn mowing button on click in here. That guy instead is in the index controller here, which is one level up. So it works using the Java inheritance model. All right, but we probably want to have our service type moved into user controller. And then we probably also want to have our two functions for toggling those also in our user controller. And let's make sure that that all still works. That's really weird. Service type is no. That's inside of user controller, which is right here. Yeah, so what was the point of user controller? We thought that's the way it works, but really, because I remember we had decided that it makes the most sense to have a single page application using just what, one controller? Oh, and also didn't we didn't we read either last time or the time before that you should not have a controller in the same thing as you have an if? So like maybe this guy we associate with this table. See if that makes a difference. Oh, these controller things are very weird to me. We do have user controller brought in up here, right? Yeah, it's there. Well, with that in mind, it probably just makes the most sense, at least for right now, from a productivity perspective, to do that. And we're going to need, well, no, it needs to be in there. Otherwise, like a chicken and the egg problem. So if this div is under ng controller, that means everything that's happening inside of this div should be happening inside of that. This form lives and dies right here, and that form is index controller. So one would think that it should be out of scope right here. Which is funny because we're still doing logout stuff there. So realistically speaking, this index controller oh, it was already governing it here. So I don't know what we were trying to accomplish. I hate Angular so much. Why hasn't everything just moved away from this garbage? All right, let's look at that now. Yeah, new service request is not a function, so it does not know about it. Let's just make sure we're calling it correctly in here. Here's our new service request. Which should be, well, we've defined it inside of user controller. And there is new service request. Oh. Okay, so hopefully that stops complaining now. Okay. Okay, life feels a little better. Okay, so now we're back to it works like the Java model. All right. I hate it a little bit less right now. I mean, not like take the girl off the lawn less, but less. Okay. So when we click this, it's going to call our function in here, new service request. And part of what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to determine what the service type was. And that's going to toggle depending on which of these buttons we hit. And so we're going to need to write to our database who we are, who's making the request, then the type. So we said service request.push. So here's our service request, which is a child off the base. So we should probably go in and delete the old service requests that are there because we're going to have brand new ones coming in. So we're going to store the user. We're going to store the type. Which is going to be service type. We're going to initially say there's not an associated provider. We also need to store instructions. And that is going to be $scope dot. This is for let's just do this. Var instructions if scope dot service type is equal to snow, instructions is equal to scope dot snow underscore what I call it, special instructions or something like that. Snow instructions. Else instructions is equal to lawn instructions. Okay, and then we need to also say var size if it's snow. Size is going to be equal to number of cars. If it's lawn, it's also going to be number of cars for right now. Okay. So now we have our instructions and we have our size. Oh, thank you. So we have our service type. We have our, this is not scope, this is just instructions. Oh, hold on. This was provider, right? And this was instructions. All right, then we also want to have cost. And we're not going to actually do this unless they've paid. So we're going to have that as part of the checkout process. All right, so but we do want to know what they paid for the service. That way, in case there's a, all right, so we need to figure out cost. just say cost starts off at 0. All right, so we decided it was going to be $10 times, so cost is equal to size times 10. And for lawn mowing, say cost is equal to size times, was lawn mowing easier or harder than snow removal? Easier, so 8. Is it 20% easier? Or even easier?
You got a rider or push one?
Oh no, this get too complicated. All right, so yeah, it's 20% easier. 20% easier. Okay, so we have 10 and 8 for right now. That's going to be our cost. All right, so there's our instructions. Here's our cost. Will be cost. Then we have our provider, and then we have whether or not it's been completed. Is that all we need? Who's requesting it? What kind of service we're requesting? Special instructions, what the cost is, a place for the provider to accept, and then, oh, we probably want to also keep track of the size. It should correlate to cost. You should be able to figure it out based on cost, but we might as well store it. So size. Okay, but we're only going to actually do this, and then here we were emptying stuff out there. So what will we? We'll zero out. Well, let's just leave it filled in for right now. We'll zero stuff out later. Okay. So we're only going to actually do this service request if they pay, right? So we need to have them check out. So as they're typing stuff in, we're going to have a label bound to this this cost. So what we should actually do is this new service request should be their checkout. It should be that button associated with it. So let's give them a we're going to do $scope dot cost. We'll start that off at 0. And then let's give them, let's put a label in there. Oh, it is going to get a little, well, let's just wing it for right now. So with that in mind, actually, we need to do this. We're going to have a var cost per unit is equal to 10. And then both of these will be cost per unit instead of, we can always adjust this stuff later once we have real data for what we should be charging. That way we can calculate cost as we go. So the cost is going to be associated with, well, this really needs to be scope as well. So that's cost. Did you win?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Well, you still got 16 minutes. You can sit down.
He sold the gasoline.
Oh, nice. All right, so we have, so we actually won't need cost here. We're going to calculate cost here, but we're going to have cost per unit here. That way we can have a something bound to cost per unit. Okay, got it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a label that's going to be bound to cost per unit. And we'll do the math, though, in there for its value. So this is going to be here. And no matter what kind of service we're currently doing, oh, actually that'll work. Yeah, that fixes the problem that we were just dealing with. If they toggle, so cost per unit starts off at 10, but if they toggle to snow, or to grass, it goes to 8. There, now it'll be correct. So we'll have the correct cost per unit there. Fair enough. So then what we can do out here is let's do
For lawn, you still have number of cars out.
yeah, I know. Yeah. That's our current measurement. We'll have to figure out what he thinks is a better way of doing it, but I think I can come up with a better estimate of the number of cars I could fit in my yard than square yards. I mean, it's weird, but I think I probably could. So I'm thinking like 4 cards across there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But the thing is, don't you have a
10
measurement
cars.
of your lot?
I think about 16 car. I have a 16 car yard. And that should really tick off the neighbors. I put all bunch of, especially put them up on the cinder blocks, right?
Take your rims off too.
All right, so let's put a. Actually, I don't even think we need. Let's just do an H1. And we're going to say current cost is going to be
Your multiplication within there.
yeah. It's going to be cost per unit times the we're going to have to do it inside each individual thing because it's going to be either times the snow number of cars or the this is lawn number of cars, and then what we'll want to do is we'll want to initially bind both of those to 0. Let me steal this. That's in here. Snow number of cars. So out here, when you toggle, the current cost is going to be the cost per unit times snow number of cars if you're in the snow tab, and lawn number of cars if you're in that one. So initially this should be 0 and 0, but we should see it go up if we start putting stuff in those boxes. Yep. So 10 car driveway. Actually, hold on. 6. I said I have a 6-car driveway. $60 for it.
So expensive.
Yeah, I know. Usually it's like what, like 25? Yeah, whatever. This is the way it is. All right, so well, the lawn's going to be similar. So here, what did I say? 5. Yeah, 5 times 8. So that's a pretty small lawn for $40. Yeah, our numbers are way off, but this is this is the economy. All right, all right. So we have it calculating cost and all that jazz, so we kind of know what we're dealing with here. So now when we hit this, it should be as if we were hitting that purchase button, right? And then we should actually check out when it's done. Okay, so we need to move that purchase button logic into this guy. All right, so right now, all right, so we're going to take all that out of there. And the bottom of this form, let's kill this for right now. Let's put some gaps in here. There's that. All right, so there's our checkout. Here's our, we don't need to console that anymore. Here's our post. But do we get a response back from that?
It's the check, isn't it?
No, this is our actual checkout. So how do we get a response from that? Because if we need to know if it was successful, then we want to actually add this new thing.
I saw it earlier.
Well, no, we have to write it.
No, I know. I saw it in like one of the examples where you pulled that from online.
Okay, so we need to look at jQuery read. Let's see, jQuery post result. Actually, let's just do post to server. And is this? Well, let's just go. I think this was the example we were looking at. It looks like we can have a function associated with it. What is ours doing? Ours is doing some, where are we? All right, so here's the URL. Here's the data. Yeah, and then we can give it a function with the result. So this guy. If result is equal to, here, for the moment, let's just do a console log result. That way we can just test this with our output button real quick, or our payment button. Okay, so we need to go into this. Okay. We're sending a result right now. We're just not doing anything with it. So this should prove that the result is coming back. We don't need to restart that server. We just need to go through the checkout process. Purchase. I should not have moved it. Yeah. Okay. For a moment. But just for a moment. So I think we had this issue last time with our, we were trying to get the blue button to show up. It only worked when we put it, where did I even have it before?
Get it in the header.
No, no. I think I had it in here. Waiting on Ajax Google APIs. There we go. All right, so when we click on I think I need to put it between. Yeah, I think it was right here. It doesn't explain why that works yet, but but at least it'll let us test this one part. 4242. All right, so we should get a success. There we go. Good. All right. So far, so good. Now, so we just have another payment that just showed up there. All right, so this is working. So I think for starters, we should be able to put this script up top here. I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't be able to do that. Here's our button. That should be able to go anywhere. And here's another script. It has some handler stuff. Okay. I think this script can stay up here as well. It's this button. All right, so we're going to take this, paste it here for a moment.
That's still in the script.
Oh, right.
Can you put the button down at the bottom?
Yeah. I think all we need to do is move the button. We can leave this script up here.
You can put the script up top or no?
Yeah, we could. Let's see. I think we could. Token ID, that's all local stuff. Yeah, we could put it at the very top. Let's put our button down here. Yeah, so actually this button has nothing to do with forms. So we can put it after the form here. In fact, we could even take that form out if we decide that makes sense for us. Let's see if this runs now.
Button to the bottom.
Why? So here's the button, custom button.
Scroll up. Is that because it's in user controller? Or does that not matter?
I wouldn't think it should matter.
And the other one's up in
I mean, we can move this script down into there if we want. That should take care of that as being a possibility. I realize we're out of time. Let's just try to put a bow on this if we can. Okay, user controller. So drop it just right inside of that user controller. So we have our handler. Stripe checkout should be accessible to us. The amount is a little suspect at the moment, but getting any sort of error. All right, well, what it looks like is next on our agenda is, I mean, I think we're most of the way done here. We have to figure out why this form isn't popping up the button, because I think right now we have a payment form that talks to the server. The server responds with a, hey, everything's good answer or nothing's good answer. We can then take that response, and if it was good, then we can then write to the database saying, things were good, here's the new thing, everything else should update. If it's not, then we'll give them some sort of error message, but I think we should have those pieces connected if this guy pops up. So for your homework, mine is actually getting this, well, I mean, if you can get this thing to pop up and see where our error is, great. But bring your project up to date with this in terms of bringing the checkout process into your application, being able to go through and start putting in the information for our form and for whatever your product is or whatever it is, and then kind of coming up right where we're at right now with this. So bring your project in scope with this. Again, make sure you submit screenshots and things like that, seeing as though you know, I'm not familiar with all your projects, so I can see how yours is up to date with ours. Sound like a plan? All right. I will see everybody next Monday.